It's just about 6:45. Time for us, Lagos, to join Rotus and the gang. I'm talking about Ayo from Afri Invest. Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. Good morning.
And glad to have you join us this morning. Lagos,
Yeah.
become part of the conversation by sending a message to WhatsApp 0809 444 0981. Also, you can send a message on Twitter at Smooth981FM. Use that hashtag BusinessExpress981.
Thank you, Valentine. So yesterday, all share index was down by 0.9%, closed at 37,605 points. So far this year, we're down by 1.6%. We had 19 gainers and 33 losers. Top gainer was Prestige. The top loser was Jay's Bank, still at 362 naira to the dollar. Welcome again to Ayo from Afri Invest. Ayo, I think the first thing we're looking at is the outlook for sub-Saharan Africa. I believe you guys have a report coming soon
Yeah.
from Afri Invest. Yeah, nice, nice. So what are you guys seeing as far as growth for sub-Saharan Africa?
Okay. For Sub-Saharan Africa, maybe just to pick it from the global perspective,
Right.
drill down. The IMF reviewed its forecast for global growth at its April meeting from 3.8% to
Mm-hmm.
3%. Looking at the raise in forecast, it's largely due to improvements in commodity prices, especially as it pertains to emerging market and frontier economies, like the SSC region.
Okay.
Also, the IMF also took into consideration international policy of the U.S. government. So the on the back of the tax cuts that we've seen in the U.S. also expected to drive improvements in production and stimulate economic growth too. So on, but we also highlighted some risks that could be against that could work against the possibilities of achieving these growth levels in 2018. Some of these risks that were mentioned in the outlook at the beginning of the year, we've seen it play out. During Q2, particularly of the year, where
Okay.
we saw we mentioned protectionism. We've seen trade wars between the EU, the US, and China has
Right.
been a
Right.
daily discussion in the business and financial world. So we've also seen we also highlighted clashes,
Okay.
and you've seen that manifest, in the Middle East area too. That's in Asia. Then we mentioned some of these factors as threats to possibilities of achieving this growth level. So there were downside risks, and we've seen them play out.
Mm-hmm.
But in spite of that, we're still positive about growth. For the SSC, we are still optimistic about growth for the SSC, because by the time you take into considerations the countries that contribute, in terms of weight and largely to that region, you're picking countries like Nigeria, you're picking countries like Angola. These are solid oil producers, and on the back of the improvements in oil prices, we expect that their GDP and production levels will also improve,
Okay.
which would help boost their GDP growth for the year. So the outlook for that, for the SSC region, is quite positive, but the only downside that we see is in terms of debt levels. Debt levels are increasing rampantly in
Mm.
this region. For example, we take Nigeria, for example, using the half-year estimates of the budget, the half-year actuals for the budget that was
Right.
released, for what the full year 2017 budget performance was like,
Mm-hmm.
we see that debt service to revenue ratio was quite on the high side. We're now getting close to the 60% region. I mean,
Mm.
across SSA, we've seen it increase from 5% to almost 10%. That's like
Okay.
double, with being
Right.
specific. So debt levels is a concern for the region, especially the IMF highlighted this, and we also mentioned the fact that the upturn in global growth
Mm-hmm.
that we've seen is largely due to cyclical factors. The reforms are still needed to ensure that this growth is maintained and sustained over the long run, because the cyclical factors are basically things that they can stick a turn at any time. So
Right. For
we
the
might see
worse.
oil prices turn down later, and we see commodities prices go down later, and
Mm.
we could see this affect growth um in the long run.
Ayo, thank you so much for mentioning debt to revenue. Again, people out there, please, anybody that tells you to look at debt to GDP, say yes, thank you for debt to GDP, but what about debt service to revenue? Very, very important. All right, let's go down to the private sector now. Flour Mills of Nigeria, their full year results for 2017. What are we seeing there with the company? Just released
Well,
it, I believe.
yeah, yes. Okay, because they operate a March to February calendar.
Okay.
Okay, the NSC give them a window to
Yeah, because we
release the
should have released these results earlier, yeah?
earlier, yeah, sometime May. We should
Okay.
have seen the results
Okay,
May,
okay.
June, yeah. Okay, so basically I was personally optimistic about flour mills. So I must say I was somewhat not so much happy on the
Yeah,
personal, but
with the
we saw
results.
slight improvements in revenue levels. Revenue levels improved about 3.5%
Okay.
from 524 billion to 542 billion. But we know the history flour mills, what history they have with costs. So we saw COGS, despite making revenue of 500 billion, we are seeing costs at about 473 billion.
I got 1 second. You know how on the show we have this thing. Anytime you drop an acronym, COGS, just for people out
Okay,
there.
okay, yes, sorry. Cost of goods, yes,
Okay.
cost of sales for flour mills.
All
Okay,
right,
yes.
all right,
So
thanks.
that's cost of goods sold for flour mills. So that's the cost to generate the revenue
Right,
that they are making. Yeah.
right, right.
So we saw that increase 3.5% also. So the revenue and COGS and cost of revenue, cost of sales increased at the same pace. But we saw gross profits improve slightly too. But rounding it up, profit after tax improved surprisingly despite the slow growth in revenue. So the profit after tax improved about 54% from 8.8 billion to 13.6 billion. But this did not necessarily translate into dividend payments. The flour mills announced dividend payments of 1 naira. So based on the closing price as when the result was released, the closing price was about 32.50 or 32.80.
Actually, 32, I think it's 32.75. Yeah.
Yes. So the dividend yield translated to 2.6%, definitely. So basically fair result, but
could have been better.
Yeah, it could have been better.
Yesterday we talked about this we were supposed to mention.
So basically fair result, but
could have been better.
Yeah, it could have been better.
Fintechs that are operating in the space. Didn't say why, didn't give any specifics, but this headline now, the Chartered Institute of Bankers, they're saying this with their chest, and I'm glad that they're coming out and saying this, and it's letting us know how they feel. They're saying fintechs pose a huge threat to traditional banking. Ayo, what do we think about the CIBN coming out with these comments?
Okay, yeah, basically, the story is on the back of looking at its, talking ahead for its their upcoming events, their stakeholders meeting. So it revolves around fintech and how it affects their trading, the traditional banking system.
Right.
And decided to, he mentioned something that I felt quite surprising.
Yeah.
That, fintechs pose a threat to the traditional banking system. I mean, we all do not just discover this. This is not something that everybody is just discovering. It's something we have known.
Yes.
So this is something we have known over time. The traditional banking system is going out. By the time when we look at other some fellow African countries, you look at countries like Kenya. So I mean, these countries have developed their banking system, moving away from this traditional deposit and away from that system. So it's surprising that they are looking at it as this time to mention and identify the threats. And what was much more surprising was hammering on the fact that they needed to conduct a study to identify the threats to the traditional banking system. So basically, I think what they should be looking at, what the CIBN should be looking at now is how do we evolve our traditional banking system to take advantage of the developments of technology. I mean, it's amazing that even some banks did not explore e-banking, mobile banking until recently, sometime last year, beginning of the year, where we started seeing a lot of adverts.
Everybody has a chatbot now. Everybody has a tech. Just coming out now.
So I mean, they have to wait.
It's supposed to be an improvement to the banking system. So why is it called threat?
Exactly. Right.
So
why give it a negative on the
tone? Exactly. So that's what's surprising. So what I expect the CIBN to be looking at is the opportunities available in this to develop the traditional banking system. So rather than see the fintech companies as threats, why not see them as the the nudge that you need for you to be able to prop up your bank, the banking system.
As a stimulus for growth.
Exactly.
Everybody's adapting to change.
Adapt or die. That's the mantra, you know.
So basically,
Nigeria.
I would just say they should begin to look at ways by which they can, impute some of these systems employed by the fintech companies in the traditional banking system and evolve it. And this would even help drive towards the mission of achieving financial inclusion.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
the CBN has set the target of 80% financial inclusion by 2020. I think the last data that was released on financial inclusion in 2017, as at 2016, we had about 41.6% financial exclusion. Yeah. So I mean, it's not we are still a far cry away from what we intend to achieve. So basically, I think that should be the view they should be looking at it from, not from the view of seeing fintechs as a threat to their activities.
Good stuff. All right. Lagos cooperatives. I'm showing here from the Guardian that Lagos cooperative investments have hit 152 billion naira. That's relatively impressive. I believe this is coming out ahead of the 2018 United Nations International Day of Cooperatives. Yeah. So it's growth, some growth, I see.
Yeah, some growth. I think where we'll see positivity for Lagos, because the talk was basically around how it has contributed to Lagos State economic development. So basically, how we can see really affect growth and development in Lagos. Basically, cooperative societies are designed in such a way where members are able to bring in funds, they contribute funds, some get interest, and they're able to lend to their members who are interested in doing one business or the other.
Right.
So we could see this as a strong ground for small and medium scale business development and micro enterprises development.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, we can say it's a welcome development. So if we are seeing cooperative investments move up, we are seeing the number of cooperatives registered. There's a figure that a further 371 societies were registered during the past I think a year now. The past 1 year, we have had 371 societies registered. So it just points to the fact that the private sector also, and they're not just lying down waiting for the government to do all the work for them in improving SMEs development. So because we know cooperative societies really form a bane for the development of the small and medium scale enterprises. So it's a big plus for Lagos State, and as long as if we can keep this momentum going, then we can be sure that small and medium scale business owners who are members of the cooperative society would easily have access to funds. Now that the credit lending
to the
private sector has been somewhat on the downward trend and has been a bit cold. So we might see some succor from that point.
All right, here's a message from on WhatsApp. It says, I'm sorry, but what threat are they referring to? Most of these guys at the CBN wants to believe, have masters and MBAs, so they must have been taught lean business models. So the fintech shouldn't be seen as a threat. Rather, I think they need to focus more on the banks actually offering banking services and not the current report they're offering us. Imagine that red-colored bank charging me over 2,000 naira on various things, ranging from stamp duty, MasterCard, maintenance fee for a card in my wallet, and many other silly charges. They don't even have bonanza like save this to probably win that.
Yinka has caught on. We use color codes for the banks and telcos.
And I would call out a green bank as well. Over the weekend, they charged me 3 different times for stamp duty.
Yeah.
Like building houses and paying school fees, and their rates is just 10% better than banks. These other guys, Dakpo actually usually employ.
Thanks for your messages. We always appreciate your messages. So Valentine's all the time we have.
Yeah, that's all, folks.
Ayo from AfriInvest, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We appreciate your insight.
Rotus on Twitter is at Rotan Quotes with a K.
Yes.
Lagos coming up next. We've got great music lineup for you. Huma Sakela, Mikasa, Jessica Bongos, Aramide, all for you this morning on Smooth Breakfast. Good morning.
Business Express.
Diamond, Nabi.